Y News. Airline, shipping, and other transportation groups now seeking to hike fees amid implementation of fuel excise tax under the tax reform law. The Department of Budget and Management to conduct an executive review on all budget proposals next week in relation to the 2019 proposed national budget. And school supplies sold in some shopping malls in Metro Manila fail in terms of quality standards according to the Department of Trade and Industry. Y News begins now.
From the UNTV News and Rescue Command Center in Quezon City, this is Y News.
Good evening. Airline, shipping, and other transportation groups are also seeking to hike fees amid the implementation of the tax reform law. Grace Casin explains why.
Cebu Pacific and Philippine Airlines seek to reimpose fuel surcharge due to the series of increase in the prices of oil products. Cebu Pacific's Vice President for Corporate Affairs explains that in every oil price hike, their fuel cost goes up by 20 million pesos. But lawmakers questioned this argument.
We are proposing to impose for Davao Manila a fuel surcharge, fixed fuel surcharge of around 280 pesos.
By some murky, magical formula which we are unaware of, the airlines are able to come up with their own computation of how much they should be charging per passenger.
While Marina also notes the fuel price hike also affects Roro and cargo ship operations, explaining 50% of their operating cost goes to fuel.
Owners are starting to increase their fares to recover for the increase in fuel prices.
Jeepney and bus operators and drivers are also asking for fare increase, but it is still pending before the LTFRB. House Committee on Transportation Vice Chairman Edgar Sarmiento says there is a law that would remedy the impact of high fuel prices.
Nasa batas po natin, once dumating ng $80 per barrel ang presyo, automatic suspend muna natin. Right now, the price of oil is somewhere at $74.95 per barrel.
But the Department of Finance argues it is wrong to blame the fuel price hike on the implementation of tax reform law.
The increase in oil excise, for example, for diesel, Your Honor, it's just 1/4 that is attributable or may be attributed to train po. So the 3/4 of the increase is really on the increase po of the Dubai crude price. Tapos po yun pong weakening of the peso.
For now, the DSWD is giving social protection to those affected by the train law, 200 pesos a month to those affected in first year of its implementation and 300 in the third year of the law's enforcement. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
A commuters group expresses support to jeepney operators' request for fare hike. However, they insist it should not go beyond 1 peso. The LTFRB meanwhile resets its hearing on the said petition. Here's why from Joa Nano.
The Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board resets its hearing today on the petition of some jeepney groups seeking to hike fare by 2 pesos. Confusion ensued when other groups requested to increase fare by 4 pesos, bringing the minimum fare to 12 pesos.
Itong mga delay na ito, it's not on our own. On the record, tingnan nyo ho, sila ho parati ang nagre-request. Nasa ano naman ho, it's nasa case folder po. It's either kulang yung ebidensya nila, hindi handa yung lawyer nila, magmi-meeting pa sila, inaayos pa nila yung mga papeles nila.
But according to Maricor Acol of the National Center for Commuter Safety and Protection, they are willing to support the fare hike petition to help out drivers amid surging fuel prices. However, it should not reach 2 pesos.
Naintindihan namin ang plight ng mga drivers at saka ng mga operators. So, the commuters are willing to go on a price increase of in the base price of 1 peso.
Acol also urges the government to grant subsidy to jeepney drivers.
Kasi meron naman tayong mga energy tax, may road users tax. Saan napupunta yon? No? And nakikita natin minsan ang mga kalye hindi naman sinisira nila. No? Bakit hindi na lang ibigay yung subsidy doon sa mga public transport.
But for Obet Martino Pasang Mazda, 1 peso is not enough to help them to cope from the impact of rising fuel prices.
Gawin natin 2 pesos. Para naman na, gaya rin binabanggit ko ngayon, kung bumaba naman ang presyo, kami naman ay magbo-voluntary reduction of fare. Give and take situation lang ang amin.
The LTFRB meanwhile assures to look into the basis of the petition as it will affect roughly 3 million commuters' population once it has been approved. The hearing has been rescheduled to June 13. Joan Nano, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Department of Energy expects fuel prices to go down after the arrival of imported oil from Russia. But the DOE clarifies that not all oil companies can benefit from the imported oil. Here's why from Monokson.
Oil supply from Russia will soon arrive in the Philippines. The Department of Energy, or DOE, says it would help lower the currently high fuel prices in the country. The government has tasked the Philippine National Oil Company, or PNOC, to process the importation and sell the oil at a lower price.
Whatever na dagdag sa ating supply, kapag mayroon, makakababa din siya ng presyo.
The DOE could not say yet how much the price reduction would be once the oil from Russia arrives. The agency notes the Philippines will continue to import petroleum from Russia until prices in the world market stabilizes. The Energy Department also clarifies the PNOC will sell the imported oil only to small gasoline stations, while huge oil firms will find other ways to help ease the impact of high oil prices to the public.
We have a memorandum of agreement sa oil companies, di ba, para i-expand nila yung mga discount nila sa mga gas station. So more than 300 gas station na yon.
Since January, prices of diesel, gasoline, and kerosene already increased by more than 10 pesos due to various factors including the excise tax. Without the excise tax, prices of petroleum products would only go up by 7 pesos. Meanwhile, a consumer group is dismayed over the refusal of oil companies to unbundle prices of fuel products. Laban Consumer says it is unreasonable, noting it only proves they are hiding something from consumers. In response, the DOE says oil firms would like to study first the publication of how they set fuel prices. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Department of Budget and Management is set to conduct an executive review on all budget proposals next week in relation to the 2019 proposed national budget. Rosalie Cos explains why.
The Duterte administration is eyeing a new and early submission of proposed national budget on the day of the State of the Nation address, or SONA, like what it did last year. This year's SONA will fall on July 23rd, which is also the start of the 18th Congress. That is why the Department of Budget and Management is vigorously working on crafting the 2019 proposed national budget. Next week, an executive review will be conducted on all budget proposals before presenting it to President Duterte. DBM Secretary Benjamin Jokno says the amount of next year's proposed national budget will almost be the same with 2018 national budget, since cash-based budgeting will be implemented. In 2018, the total national budget is 3.767 trillion pesos.
The plan is to submit the budget on the day of the SONA. We're still on time, with respect to our schedule.
Meanwhile, DBM reports the government spending in April increased to 43%. The government has spent 65.6 billion pesos last month for infrastructure projects and capital outlay projects in state universities and colleges, and construction of police stations and procurement of equipment. Though the government has overspending for the first 2 quarters of the year, it remains confident that it will be able to spend the budget allocated for the programs for the year 2018.
No, we cannot exceed what Congress has allowed us to spend. All right. So it's good that we're spending more than we have programmed for the first 2 quarters, because most of the infrastructure projects are done during the first 2 quarters anyway.
Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasig City.
School supplies being sold in some shopping malls in Metro Manila fail in terms of quality standards based on the inspections conducted by the Department of Trade and Industry. Here's why from Monokson.
The Department of Trade and Industry, or DTI, found out during its inspection with the Food and Drug Administration earlier that the box of crayon being sold at a mall in Manila has high mercury content. The FDA says it's not safe for the children to use some crayons with high chemical content.
Initial screening po natin, may mga bumagsak po, pero again po, meron pa po tayong confirmatory test na gagawin sa laboratory po namin.
If some crayons being sold at some malls failed, those being sold in Divisoria passed the quality standard test. The DTI notes consumers have to be careful in choosing products, saying the quality does not depend on where they are sold.
It doesn't follow na pag yung bangketa ay fake o kaya kulang or dahil meron pong mga matitunong mga negosyante naman na talagang sumusunod sa SRP, sa quality.
The DTI also scrutinized the prices of school supplies being sold in markets. The DTI observed that the school supplies in Divisoria are cheaper than the ones sold in malls. Prices of notebooks in Divisoria rose by up to 2 pesos, but still cheaper than in malls. So more consumers opt to shop here even if it's crowded.
Kasi sa mall, ano ba talawag, mas mahal. Dito nga lang, siksikan lang, taste lang, mas makakatipid ka.
But the DTI calls on the public to not compromise quality over price and to always ask for receipt so they can return defective products. Those with complaints on purchased products may report it to the DTI hotline number 751-3330. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Lack of classrooms remains a huge problem in the Luneta Elementary School in Itogon, Benguet. But even before arriving at the school, students also have to pass what residents there describe as a dangerous road. Debre Veral tells us why.
Students have to trek for up to 15 minutes and pass through a slippery road in deep ravine before arriving at the steep campus of Luneta here in Itogon, Benguet. It is also a landslide-prone area, which worries parents, especially every rainy season. With her 1-year-old infant, Beverly Joyce Dairit needs to accompany and pick up her 8-year-old child, currently in the 2nd grade, from school as she fears her child might fall from the cliff.
Minsan, pag walang tambay dyan sa baba, nandyan din ako sa baba. Nakikilaro na rin ako sa mga bata, binabantayan ko rin yung iba, kaya nandyan din kami mag-ina.
Despite students' diligence in going to school, the campus still lacks classrooms. It only has 6 rooms, accommodating 200 students.
Marami mag-enroll. Tapos yung mga classrooms, ayun ang problema, may mga kulang na rooms. Kagaya ngayon, pag nakikita ninyo sa likod, inaayos namin yung bodega para maging computer room. Kasi may mga classrooms dito na nahati. Yung isang room, ginawang library at saka clinic. Tapos itong dating isang classroom dito, naging office at saka HE.
The local government of Itogon, meanwhile, vows to address the concern to ensure the safety of the students of the Luneta Elementary School.
Titignan ko sa engineer namin dito kung anong problema nila doon. Nung sinabi nilang iwaway dinig namin yun, mas lalong gagrabe. Pero tingnan natin kung anong mas magandang gawin doon.
Debre Veral, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
PNP relieves San Rafael Bulacan Police Chief and 10 others over extortion complaints. Motorists and cargo movers from Port of Manila will soon have a direct access to North Luzon Expressway without passing through EDSA. And Team PNP responders ramps up strategies as it guns for 4th straight win in the UNTV Cup Executive Face-Off eliminations. Y News will be right back. Meanwhile, stay tuned for Angelo, Castro III. I'm Darlene, Basingan. Good evening.
On Y News tonight, the House of Representatives approves proposed Bangsamoro Basic Law on the 3rd and final reading. Ousted Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno files motion for reconsideration on Supreme Court's ruling on her co-warranto case. The Bureau of Customs condemns hundreds of smuggled luxury motorcycles and vehicles worth more than 30 million pesos. Good evening. The lower house approves in the third and final reading the proposed Bangsamoro Basic Law today. However, House Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez admits the measure might have constitutionality issues. Grace Casin explains why.
The proposed Bangsamoro Basic Law or BBL breezily passes in the lower house this afternoon after it was certified as urgent by President Rodrigo Duterte. With a vote of 227 yes, 11 no, and 2 abstention, the proposal passed in the third and final reading. None of the lawmakers proposed amendments in the plenary earlier. The lower house version includes the amendments that Mindanao lawmakers proposed, such as conducting plebiscite only once in 90 to 120 days after the BBL is signed into law, and ensuring that the police, armed forces, COMELEC, and COA are still under the jurisdiction of the national government.
Yung mga police, pati military, klaro na talagang one police force, national in scope. So there will be no more NAPOLCOM board in the Bangsamoro. The military no longer have to coordinate their movements in protocol. So, ang daming more or less napasama na sa substitute bill.
However, House Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez admits the proposed BBL might have constitutionality issues. As pointed out earlier by Representative Ed Salagman, the Constitution should be amended first before abolishing and replacing the Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao or ARMM with an autonomous region on Bangsamoro. But Alvarez says the Supreme Court would be the one to decide on the matter.
Hindi kami yung magsasabi kung constitutional yan o hindi. Basta kami, merong proposal, ito, BBL as a substitute doon sa ARMM law. So, gagawin namin. No? Now, anybody can question yung yung constitutionality nung gagawin namin. Again, Supreme Court pa rin ang magdi-decide kung inconsistent with the Constitution.
Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
The Senate continues its deliberation on the proposed Bangsamoro Basic Law in the second reading of the proposed measure. Mai Bermudez is at the Senate to tell us why. Yes, Mai, go ahead.
Yes, Diego, the proposed Bangsamoro Basic Law still under the scrutiny of senators in the ongoing plenary debates to discuss the provisions that should be amended in the measure. After this, lawmakers will vote on whether or not this will pass on second reading, hopefully before the Congress goes on break. Several amended provisions already approved on second reading include granting of external defense for the Bangsamoro and for the national government, removal of the Bangsamoro Regional Police, and the inclusion of protocol between the local and national police. Meantime, one of the toughest contentions earlier between Senators Mig Zubiri and Senator Ralph Recto among all the BBL provisions is the amount of the block grant that will be allocated for the region, initially valued at 72 billion pesos.
Meron po tayong mga kasamahan na gustong tanggalin yon o palitin po ang percentage. Ang akin naman dyan, as long as hindi lang po tayo bababa sa mga natatanggap ng mga regions, other regions ng ating bansa. Kasi right now, the ARM region is significantly smallest.
Meantime, according to the lawmaker, there are also some Solons and political leaders who wish to remove the opt-in and incorporate the opt-out provision, where provinces will have the option to disconnect from the region. Meantime, Zubiri also has an appeal to the Bangsamoro Transition Commission.
I asked them to be patient. Sabi ko, please be patient. What is important is that we retain the essence of the Bangsamoro Basic Law, which is governance, which is the government, mode of government. The block grant, the funding, of course, funding for programs.
Yes, Diego, BBL passed on third and final reading in the House of Representatives with 226 who voted in favor, 11 who are not in favor, and 2 who abstained. And now here in Senate, we are still awaiting what will be its fate on the last session day. Back to you, Diego.
Thank you, Maya Bermudez, reporting live from the Senate. Ousted Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno files an appeal urging the Supreme Court to revisit its ruling granting the quo warranto petition filed by Solicitor General Jose Calida. Calida questioned Sereno's integrity after she failed to submit complete copies of her statement of assets, liabilities, and net worth. In an unprecedented decision that has sparked a legal firestorm, Sereno's colleagues voted 8-6 to oust her as Supreme Court Chief Justice earlier this month. Sereno's camp believes they can convince at least one justice to change their vote to overturn the decision that removed her from office. President Rodrigo Duterte fires another government official, this time a Customs Deputy Commissioner over alleged excessive travels abroad. In a speech during the condemnation of smuggled luxury motor vehicles at the Bureau of Customs in Manila, Duterte sacked Customs Deputy Commissioner Noel Patrick Sales Prudente. Prudente was only appointed to the position in February.
He is now under investigation by the House. Matagal yung investigation sa House, pati recommendation lang yan. So I will cut short the agony of Congress. I'm firing him today. Noel Patrick Sales Prudente.
Before sacking Prudente, Duterte fired Government Corporate Counsel Rudolph Corrado just 2 days ago and Transportation Assistant Secretary Mark Tolentino on May 21st. The Bureau of Customs destroys another batch of smuggled vehicles worth more than 30 million pesos. Aiko Miguel explains why.
116 motorcycles and 6 vehicles were destroyed at the Bureau of Customs Port Area, Manila today. President Rodrigo Duterte personally witnessed the condemnation of the smuggled vehicles worth 34.71 million pesos. These include 112 units of brand new scooter Vespa, 2 units of used Triumph motorcycle, a Harley Davidson, and a Mitsubishi Pajero which were confiscated at the port of Subic. Also destroyed were a used BMW motorcycle worth more than $10,000 US, which was confiscated from the Manila International Container Port. 2 units of Land Rover and a Volvo from Iloilo. Also destroyed at the port of Cebu were 2002 Ford Ecoline A350 and a 2005 Ford Ecoline A350. The vehicles were repeatedly crushed using a bulldozer. The condemnation or destruction of these smuggled vehicles is part of the President Duterte's order to serve as warning against smugglers to pay proper taxes on vehicle importation. BOC says there are also 24 luxury vehicles considered as supercars, which are in the custody of the MICP but are still undergoing litigation under the Customs Law Division. 2 units of brand new Ranger Rover and McLaren are already forfeited, but the importer of these vehicles has appealed to the Court of Tax Appeals. That's why these are still undergoing legal proceedings and have not been included in the destruction. Meanwhile, Commissioner Isidro La Peña also reported that the number of confiscated illegal drugs has reached 294.81 million pesos since January to May 30, 2018.
The President's order is clear. A strong message to smugglers to stop what they have been doing. The connivance of smugglers with some customs employees in bringing smuggled vehicles back to the smugglers, disguised into legitimate auction proceedings, has to stop as well.
The BOC also intercepted 1.227 billion pesos worth of smuggled goods from various ports and offices across the country. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The powerful Commission on Appointments confirms the appointment of Menardo Guevara as the Secretary of the Department of Justice. Prior to his confirmation, Guevara was grilled over DOJ's contracts worth over 12 million pesos awarded to the security firm owned by the family of Solicitor General Jose Calida. This is among the reported 150 million pesos worth of dealings of Calida's Vigilant Investigative and Security Agency Incorporated with several government agencies recently questioned before the office of the Ombudsman. Though Guevara said there is no conflict of interest on security deals between DOJ and Calida's firm, he assured that he will review the contracts.
That's for him to explain eh. From the point of view of the DOJ, ang conflict of interest ay kung halimbawa yung bang bidder has any relation with anyone sa DOJ, like yung sa BAC, yung Bids and Awards Committee ng DOJ.
The CA also gave its nod to the ad interim appointments of Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat and Agrarian Reform Secretary John Casticiones, AFP Chief of Staff Carlito Galvez, and several government appointees. A relief order has been issued against San Rafael Bulacan Police Chief Superintendent Rizalina Andaya and 10 others over extortion complaints. According to Bulacan Police Director Senior Superintendent Chito Bersaluna, Andaya was removed due to command responsibility after 10 of his men were allegedly caught extorting 50,000 pesos from cigarette smugglers. The said 10 policemen are now facing multiple charges. Chief Inspector Bantog will temporarily assume Andaya's post. The motorists and cargo movers from the Port of Manila will soon have a direct access to North Luzon Expressway without passing through EDSA or the Balintawak Toll Plaza. Joanano explains why.
The Department of Public Works and Highways expects reduced travel time from Manila Port to North Luzon Expressway once it completes the construction of the NLEX Harbor Link Segment 10 this year. During an inspection yesterday, the government's mega infrastructure project team assures they are doing their best to meet the target completion of the project that will significantly improve the movement of cargo from the Port of Manila by providing direct access to North Luzon Expressway without passing through EDSA or the Balintawak Toll Plaza. The elevated expressway project covers the MacArthur Highway in Valenzuela City and C3 Road in Caloocan City. DPWH Secretary Mark Villar notes 75% of the project have been completed and 90% of the right-of-ways has been processed.
We're hoping we can possibly soft open by the SONA, but definitely by the third quarter of this year, tapos na yan, fully open.
The NLEX Harbor Link segment is envisioned to reduce the travel time to only 5 to 10 minutes from Manila Port to NLEX.
Yung mga trucks na dati dumadaan sa C5, dumadaan sa Metro Manila, dumadaan sa Quezon City, dediretso na lang sila sa NLEX via the Harbor Link. So napakalaki po ang effect sa traffic sa Metro Manila.
Manila North Tollways Corporation, among the government's partners in the project, says they spent 12 billion pesos in building the NLEX Segment 10. Once it opens, motorists using the road would have to pay 6 to 7 pesos toll, but the MNTC clarifies this is still a proposal. Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue, Caloocan City.
Team PNP Responders ramps up ball game strategies as it guns for fourth straight win in the UNTV Cup Executive Face-Off eliminations. Here's why from Bernard Dadis.
The PNP Responders beefs up tactics as it prepares to fight against GSIS Thunder Furies this Sunday's triple-header UNTV Cup Off-Season Executive Face-Off at 2 p.m. in the Pasig City Sports Center. The Responders aim to snag the twice-to-beat advantage in the playoffs by maintaining its lead with 3 wins and 0 loss record and muscle through the remaining 4 elimination matches.
Siguro kailangan pa naming palakas kasi yung speed namin ang pinaka-strength namin dito tsaka yung solid defense namin. Minimize namin yung mga foul, dagdagan yung practice.
The PNP, however, admits it faces challenge when it comes to full lineup practices.
Ayos sa ensayo naman, nag-a-adjust kami depende dun sa availability ng mga players. So minsan naman yung iba hindi talaga nakakapag-ensayo dahil nga very busy talaga, out of town yung iba. So kung sino yun nandyan, yung mga natitira, mga 5, 10, as much as possible, kailangan meron kaming condition na player, kahit 5, kahit 10, okay lang kami doon.
GSIS Thunder Furies meanwhile knows they are up against a very strong team, so they also ramp up their endurance practices.
Tatakbo talaga kami. Yun talaga yung kulang namin eh. And then yung mga papanoorin namin yung mga pagkakamali namin tsaka pagkukulang nitong versus DOJ, mag-a-adjust na lang kami.
Thunder Furies are yet to clinch their first victory after playing 2 games in ongoing elimination rounds. Bernard Daddies, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Up next on Y News. Terrorism is seen as motive behind attack in Liège, Belgium. Suspect allegedly targeted police. A prominent Russian journalist and critic of President Vladimir Putin was shot dead in Ukraine. And Serena Williams makes winning start as she returns to Grand Slam tennis, while former champion Maria Sharapova wobbles mid-match before reaching French Open's second round.
Good evening. Here are the top stories on Y News Tonight. The lower house approves in the third and final reading the proposed Bangsamoro Basic Law today. 226 lawmakers voted in favor of the bill, 11 disagreed, and 2 abstained. The House's version includes the amendments that Mindanao lawmakers proposed, such as conducting plebiscite only once in 120 days after the BBL is signed into law, and ensuring that the police, armed forces, and COMELEC and Commission on Audit are still under the jurisdiction of the national government. However, House Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez admits the measure might have constitutional issues. As previously pointed out by the Albay Representative Edsel Lagman, the Constitution should be amended first before abolishing and replacing the autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao with an autonomous region on Bangsamoro. But Alvarez says the Supreme Court would be the one to decide on the said matter.
Hindi kami yung magsasabi kung constitutional yan o hindi. Basta kami, merong proposal, ito, BBL as a substitute doon sa ARMM law. So, gagawin namin. No? Now, anybody can question yung, yung constitutionality nung gagawin namin. Again, Supreme Court pa rin ang, ang magdi-decide kung inconsistent with the Constitution.
Meanwhile, President Rodrigo Duterte fires another government official, this time a Customs Deputy Commissioner, over alleged excessive travels abroad. In a speech during the condemnation of smuggled luxury motor vehicles at the Bureau of Customs in Manila, Duterte sacked Customs Deputy Commissioner Noel Patrick Sales Prudente. Prudente was only appointed to the position in February.
He is now under investigation by the House. Matagal yung investigation sa House. Pati recommendation lang yan. So I will cut short the agony of Congress. I'm firing him today. Noel Patrick Sales Prudente.
Before sacking Prudente, Duterte fired Government Corporate Counsel Rudolph Jurado just 2 days ago and Transportation Assistant Secretary Mark Tolentino on May 21st. In other news, ousted Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno files an appeal urging the Supreme Court to revisit its ruling granting the quo warranto petition filed by Solicitor General Jose Calida. Calida questioned Sereno's integrity after she failed to submit complete copies of her Statement of Assets, Liabilities, and Net Worth, or SALN. In an unprecedented decision that has sparked a legal firestorm, Sereno's colleagues voted 8-6 to oust her as Supreme Court Chief Justice earlier this month. Sereno's camp believe they can convince at least one justice to change their vote to overturn the decision that removed her from office. Airline and shipping firms are now looking to hike fees amid the implementation of fuel excise tax under the tax reform law. Cebu Pacific and Philippine Airlines seek to reimpose fuel surcharges due to their rising fuel costs following series of oil price increases. But lawmakers question the petition, saying airlines should present the computation of fees they charge each passenger.
We are proposing to impose for Davao Manila a fuel surcharge, fixed fuel surcharge of around 280 pesos.
By some murky, magical formula which we are unaware of, the airlines are able to come up with their own computation of how much they should be charging per passenger.
The Maritime Industry Authority, or Marina, meanwhile notes that shipping firms and roll-on, roll-off operators are hiking fares because 50% of their operating costs goes to fuel. But the Department of Finance argues it is wrong to blame the fuel price hike on the implementation of the tax reform law.
The increase in oil excise, for example, for diesel, Your Honor, it's just 1/4 that is attributable or may be attributed to train po. So the 3/4 of the increase is really on the increase po of the Dubai crude price. Tapos po yun pong weakening of the peso.
The Duterte administration is eyeing a new and early submission of proposed national budget on the day of the State of the Nation address, or SONA, like what it did last year. This year, SONA will fall on July 23rd, which is also the start of the 18th Congress regular sessions. With this, the Department of Budget and Management is vigorously working on crafting the 2019 proposed national budget. An executive review will also be held next week before the budget presentation to President Duterte. DBM Secretary Benjamin Diokno says the amount of next year's proposed national budget will almost be the same with 2018 budget since cash-based budgeting will be implemented.
The plan is to submit the budget on the day of the SONA. We're still on time with respect to our schedule.
Meanwhile, school supplies being sold in some shopping malls in Metro Manila fail in terms of quality standards based on the inspections made by the Department of Trade and Industry today. DTI says a box of crayons sold at a mall in Manila has high mercury content, while those sold in Divisoria passed the quality standard test. The DTI notes consumers have to be careful in choosing products, saying the quality does not depend on where they are sold. The agency also calls on the public not to compromise quality over price and to always ask for receipts so that they can return defective products. Those with complaints on purchased products may report it to the DTI hotline number 751-3330. And for the news abroad, here's Noel Poliarco from Toronto, Canada, live. Yes, Noel.
Good evening, William. U.S. Defense Secretary Jim Mattis said on Tuesday that the United States would continue to confront what Washington sees as China's militarization of island in the South China Sea, despite drawing condemnation from Beijing for an operation in the region over the weekend.
We are going out of our way to cooperate with Pacific nations. That's the way we do business in the world. But we are also going to confront what we believe is out of step with international law.
Reuters first reported that 2 U.S. Navy warships sailed near South China Sea island claimed by China on Sunday, even as President Donald Trump seeks Chinese cooperation on North Korea. The operation, known as Freedom of Navigation, was the latest attempt to counter what Washington sees as Beijing's effort to limit freedom of navigation in the strategic waters, where Chinese, Japanese, and some Southeast Asian navies operate. China expressed its anger, saying it had sent ships and aircraft to warn the U.S. warships to leave. Medical workers at a hospital in Bikoro in Congo celebrate on Tuesday. Darlene Basingan tells us why.
Medical staff celebrated the discharge of a former Ebola patient from a hospital in Democratic Republic of Congo's Bikoro after he was cured from the deadly disease. Wang Winondi was admitted to the hospital's Ebola treatment center on May 13 after contracting the disease from his brother, who he was looking after. His brother died from Ebola.
Au début, j'étais avec le fièvre.
At first I had a fever and headaches.
Et après ça, je ne mange pas, la faiblesse.
Then I stopped eating. I was weak.
Là, on m'a traité.
Finally, I received the treatment and I felt like before again.
Donc, je suis courageux comme j'étais auparavant.
International aid group Doctors Without Borders, or MSF, said it had started to vaccinate Ebola frontline workers in Bicoro on Monday. MSF said in a statement the trial vaccination will also be offered to contacts of patients.
We don't have a true picture of what's going on. We only see the tip of the iceberg. So what is very worrying is that we do not see all the transmission chains. There is not yet 100% follow-up of contacts. This means that we are still discovering new cases which have no link to the confirmed cases, and that is quite worrying.
On Tuesday, the World Health Organization said almost all the people it considers at immediate risk from an Ebola outbreak in Bandaka, 130 kilometers north of Bicoro, have now been vaccinated against the disease. 25 people have died in the outbreak, which is the largest since more than 11,300 people died of Ebola in Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Liberia in an outbreak that reached its peak in 2014. A WHO official said the outbreak has so far caused 54 cases of the disease, and 47 of those have been in rural communities of Bicoro and Iboko, which is where the outbreak was first declared and where the priority must be in the next few weeks. Darlene, Basingan, UNTV News and Rescue.
And those are the latest from other parts of the globe. Back to you, William.
Thank you very much, Noel Poliarco, live from Toronto, Canada. Serena Williams hits the ground running as she returns to Grand Slam tennis, while former champion Maria Sharapova wobbles mid-match before reaching round 2 of the French Open. Here's why from Asher Kadapan Jr.
Even the Parisian storm clouds cleared for Serena Williams on Tuesday as the new mother stepped back into Grand Slam tennis and the second round of the French Open. Kristina Pliskova played her part across the net on center court, but there was only one star. Dressed in a skin-tight, all-in-one black bodysuit broken up by a vivid scarlet belt, Serena captivated the French crowd from the start of the contest to its 7-6-4, 6-4 conclusion. The last time the American had appeared in a Grand Slam tournament was at the Australian Open in 2017, when she won it while pregnant with daughter Alexis Olympia.
I feel like I'm on the right track. I've been putting a lot of work in on the court, so that's kind of been my life, and I've been really enjoying it, and hopefully the results continue to show.
Rafael Nadal began his campaign for an 11th French Open title with a rain-delayed 6-4, 6-3, 7-6, 11-9 win over Italy's Simone Bolelli. Resuming 3-0 down in the third set, Nadal swiftly recovered the break but was pushed hard by the world number 129. The Spaniard saved 3 set points from 6-3 down in the tie break before prevailing in damp conditions. Nadal will play Argentina's Guido Pella in the second round. And former champion Maria Sharapova overcame a mid-match wobble to beat Richelle Hogenkamp 6-1, 4-6, 6-3 and reach the French Open second round. The Russian former world number 1 looked to be cruising against the Dutch woman when she was 3-0 up in the second set, but then lost 4 service games in a row. After going a break down in the third, she won 6 games in a row to advance.
From a young age, it was a Grand Slam that was very difficult for me to do well at, physically, mentally, and I overcame that. And so to be back here and kind of to relive those moments and memories playing back again is very exciting.
Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue.
A cheese rolling star wins record 22nd race down death-defying hill in Gloucestershire, UK, while swamp football becomes a hit in Russia ahead of the World Cup 2018. Leslie Longbowen tells us why.
Competitors from across the world take part of the world-famous cheese rolling race in Gloucestershire, UK. This year, the record has been broken by Chris Anderson, 30 that has taken home a total of 21 double Gloucester cheeses over the past 14 years at the Cooper's Hill Cheese Rolling and Weigh competition. He broke the previous record of 20 held by Stephen Guide after winning the first of this year's 3 men's downhill races. Over the years, the worst injuries Mr. Anderson has suffered were a broken ankle in 2005 and bruised kidneys in 2010. Despite taking home the famous double Gloucester local cheese 22 times, Anderson claims that he only likes cheddar. While FIFA delegations inspect fresh and smooth pitches at the World Cup 2018 venues, Russian football lovers show that their favorite game is suitable for any terrain. A group of St. Petersburg enthusiasts adopt one of the toughest variants, a northern Russian swamp soccer. A game invented in Finland to train the stamina of athletes in other sports is as good as big football in terms of physical training. According to media, several hundred teams emerged worldwide since the first championship in this exhausting sport in 1998. Excited faces of the players covered in mud speckles clearly explain why swamp football appeals to the public. Leslie Lomboan, UNTV News and Rescue.
High fashion label Balenciaga is selling a men's indigo t-shirt for almost $1,300 as part of their autumn 2018 collection. For many, it's not the price that's a big shock, it's the actual design of the item. Insert the top is a plain t-shirt which looks like it had a checkered shirt pinned to the front of it. According to the Balenciaga website, the t-shirt has 2 wearing options that create a drape effect. So many people decided to recreate their own version, saving themselves a lot of money. According to a Twitter user named Mike, he just made his own double shirt and it didn't cost him $1,000. Same goes with Adi Zenon, who took to the design to a casual chic with a hanger, and this one is for free. And those are the reasons behind the news. May 30, 2018, I'm William Thio. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Thank you for watching Why News.